everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I have a Toshiba Satellite laptop which has got all of Knights of England's historical photographs and pictures and things on, and it ain't working, the keyboard's packed up, so I might need your help to get this laptop working. So if you want to help me, I'll get this sorted so we don't lose all of our info from the past. Stick around, watch it to the end, offer any comments along the way. Let's go. Okay, so something a little bit different today. I'm going to attempt to take this Toshiba laptop apart. It's quite an old laptop, and the problem we have is when we're trying to use the keyboard, many of the keys are not actually making good contact, and we're having to really push or punch down on the keys, which of course will damage the keyboard over time and render it useless. So this is a Satellite. It's a very old Toshiba laptop, but it's one that we've got a lot of information on, a lot of historical pictures for the Knight Rider products that we've done in the past. So it's something that, while we could just transfer it to a newer laptop, we'd like to keep the history of this one going. It's what we've used for many years. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to remove the battery. So I'm going to slide this back. There's one both sides actually. And just remove the actual rechargeable battery. We'll place that out of the way. Doesn't look like anything else can just be slid off or removed. I've never taken one of these laptops apart, although I did used to work on desktop computers many years ago. So looking around, there seems to be many crosshead or Phillips style screws dotted all around the case. So I've got this box here of various different screwdrivers. Hopefully we can find one in here which will be suitable for removing that. Let's have a look, see if this one. Okay, so we've got a suitable screwdriver here. So I'm just going to work my way around all of the screws and remove those and place them just out of sight so we don't lose them. I'm just working my way around the outer edge to start with. Wondering with this cover undone, it may be that this cover will lift off quite easily. A few of these screws out of the way. Okay, so first cover off, we have a metal type shield here with a part number on there. I think that's for this expansion board here. Place that out of the way. And we can also see here the actual hard disk for the computer. So as I said previously, we could just take the data from this hard disk and transplant that into a more modern computer. But for argument's sake and for the history of this computer, we're going to try and remove all of this and see if we can get to the keyboard and actually replace it or repair it. I do actually have a second one of these computers which is working fine, which we bought at the same time, which has never really been used. Now, one option I do have, of course, is to just transplant the hard disk straight into that particular computer. That would be another option. But as I say, I keep repeating myself, I would dearly like to get this one sorted. It's been bugging me for a long time. I'm a little bit nervous about taking it apart because I don't really work on laptops, never have done. So there is a strong possibility that I could make a complete mess of this. And if I do, I guess you'll be the first ones to see me try and figure out how to sort the mess out that I've made. So I've got all of those out. That one out. Just 3 more screws left to undo. I think what I will do is just see if I can remove the hard disk from the computer without causing any damage at this point. I'm fairly sure once this main cover here was released with the one screw and the clips, That is really just so you can actually upgrade or replace the RAM, as I think that is an expansion board for RAM, and the hard disk itself. So we should be able to take those out before we try and remove this plastic back cover, I think. If you know better, you're used to doing this kind of work, leave me a comment, tell me what I'm doing right, tell me what I'm doing wrong, give me some pointers. I'm no professional, certainly appreciate any advice. Okay, so I'm gonna another screwdriver, a flat bladed screwdriver, I think, at this point, just to see if I can prise this away in any way. Maybe push back on the hard disk. Okay, so I've pushed the hard disk back to release it from in here. There's a connector, and you can see that here. So I'll just push the hard disk backwards to see if, once it's been released, if it will allow me to lift it up. And at this point, the answer to that question appears to be no. It will not allow me to lift it up, so it's not going back far enough, which tells me maybe the case does have to come off to get to that. Okay, so I think all the screws are out. Do another check around there, make sure there's nothing I've missed. So there appears to be nothing else I can remove at this point without trying to actually get this back off, or front off, base off, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so now it's unscrewed, I can remove the CD drive, or DVD drive as it was, or is. Place that out of the way. Anything else down there? No, doesn't appear to be. So it looks like we're at the point where we should be able to split this casing. That's what it looks like to me anyway. Okay, so I've just begun to gently prise this edge up, and you can see a gap appearing around here. I'm quite gentle with this. I don't want any springs or any clips or anything like that to just spring out and disappear. But of course I do need to know where they came from to put them back. We are hoping to put this back together. So let's open it up just a little bit and just work our way around the edge. See if we can separate that. I'm just working this little flat bladed screwdriver around the edge. See, normally these kind of things have a small plastic clip or something which will just bond it to the base. Well, that's my experience of these kind of cases anyway, on other things, not just computers. So that seems to have lifted that up a little bit. It does seem to be held down somewhere more around the centre. This is definitely wanting to lift up around the edges, but it feels like it's being held down across the centre in some way. So I wonder if we need to dismantle more from the bottom to release this top keyboard area. Let's have a look from underneath if there's anything else we can take apart. And the only thing I can see at this point, screw wise, are two screws here and here. I'm fairly sure they're not going to need to come away. And I think that the screen itself would come away after this back is removed, or the front is removed. So not too sure right now what's actually holding this together, what's stopping it coming apart. Let's tentatively undo these two screws here. These are the first screws I'm undoing, which may be different to the rest of the case screws, and they're very different. You can see that. A very different type of screw. Appears to have a sort of a washer on there, so I'll put that somewhere safe. And we'll do the same with this one. I really don't think this is what's holding the case down, if I'm honest. It's kind of a sprung screw onto a heatsink of some form. But nevertheless, I'm going to remove them anyway. Have a look, see what's going on. Can we figure out how this is released? No, is the short answer to that question. So just push, there's a metal clip each side of this RAM. Again, I believe it's RAM. It's memory here. There's a little metal clip. You can see that just to the sides. I just pushed it slightly out on each side, and that released the RAM. Again, I'll put that somewhere safe, out of sight, out of mind, but don't damage that. There's no visible screws I can see anywhere now holding this case down. So I'm at a little bit of a loss right now to figure this one out as to why it won't separate, but we will figure it out because that's what we're here to do. And I'm not one to be beaten, so. Okay, so I'll figure out how we get this off, and then I will show you guys what I did. Okay, so I've been able to remove the hard drive just by raising this corner up slightly and just pushing it back and then very gently prising it up. So worst case scenario, all of our data is safe there on the hard disk. So again, I'll just put that out of the camera. And I wanted that out because I was just concerned there might have been a screw or something underneath there holding this down, but there doesn't appear to be a screw of any kind holding that. So let's take a look down there. That will definitely pass that. Being removed. Nothing inside any of these. If there is any. Clips or something we need to release across there to help that come away. It does appear to be held by something in the centre. That's part of the moulding, so I can't see what's holding it there. Let's just turn this around and have a look if there's anything we can see. I really don't want to just force this up. It may be on a clip, but I'm reluctant to give it too much pressure and break anything. Feels like there's something around the centre which is actually holding this down. Wonder if this pops off the top. It's like a separate piece of plastic. Could be that there's a screw or something underneath here. They're definitely part of the construction. Okay, so indeed there are some screws underneath here. I'm just working my way along this using a flat-bladed screwdriver, carefully, not wanting to cause any damage to the case or any of the clips that hold it down. Just prising that away as we go. A very small amount of upward pressure while trying to put the screwdriver underneath and just raising it. And there we go. That clips or cover has come off without causing any damage. We'll place that over there, out of the way. And I can see now there appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Now I do wonder if that's all I actually needed to do to get this keyboard out, because they appear to be holding the keyboard in, and it's the keyboard I'm actually trying to gain access to repair. So it is possible that these 4 screws, and again these are different to the rear casing screws, they're a much smaller screw, let me show you there. I do wonder if we just needed to remove these to actually get the keyboard off, to have a look and do the repair that I'm hoping to do. We shall see. If you're enjoying this dive into taking a computer apart, something a little bit different on the channel, then please do let me know in the comments. Let me know if you've ever tackled doing something like this without any experience yourself. Tell me what I'm doing right and wrong. Okay, so there's your keyboard coming up. In fact, that is the whole keyboard away. So I certainly don't need to remove everything from underneath, although I'm going to go ahead and definitely do what I can to service it. We have a small ribbon cable here holding the keyboard on. So that's this ribbon cable here. So it may be that this keyboard isn't actually serviceable. I was hoping it'd be something I could take apart and try and clean. But looking at it, it looks like it's pressed together, and it may be something that can't be serviced. But as I say, I do have another one of these computers which has a very usable working keyboard in there, so it may be that what I can do is remove that front cover and replace this keyboard anyway. But what I need to do now is figure out how to just remove this ribbon cable. Okay, so guys, I'm going to bring you in to show you what I've just had to do there to remove this ribbon cable. So let me just take you in a little bit closer. Okay, so if I can get that to zoom in, you can see there's a white clip here and there's one over here. And what I've had to do is get my screwdriver in here, just very gently push that clip up. That's locked in and that's released. And now that's released on both sides, I should be able to just gently pull this ribbon cable backwards. But to do that, I'm going to put the camera back on this tripod so you guys can see what's happening. So I'm going to use 2 hands, and there we go. That's released that very easily once we push those up. And that's the keyboard off. So is the keyboard serviceable? Is it usable? Well, I don't know, is the honest answer to that. I actually do not know. I guess you'd have to try and take that apart completely, which would mean separating the metal here from the plastic here, and then working our way around to see if we can get underneath there, or trying to pop these keys off, which may or may not be possible. However, that's probably also, it's got a part number on there, so it's probably something you could get even today as a Toshiba replacement keyboard. It looks fine, but certain keys like the U, the P, the I just really don't work very well. So for now, I'm going to put that out of the way, and I can see that if I wanted to strip this down further, there are indeed some additional screws here, and there's some others. There's another one here that we would definitely need to undo to allow this top to be lifted away. Now, looking at it, it doesn't look in bad condition underneath here. There's no real sign of dust around the fan or any major issues. So in the interest of knowing that this computer is actually working well, I think what I'm going to do is undo these 2 screws that I can see, this one here and here, see if I can lift off the top. If I can, then I'll go ahead and give it a little blowout and a clean. But if undoing these screws doesn't give me the desired effect to release the 2 sections, then what I will do is put the clean it out as best I can, give it a quick blowout, and then I'll just put this back together with a new keyboard in. Just see if if that now wants to raise up, there's a third screw here. And again, all of these screws are different again. These are much longer screws. Will this now separate away? Well, maybe it will. It's certainly lifting up. We do have another ribbon cable to undo in order to get this to come away. However, at least one ribbon cable, and there's a power button as well. So in order to do this, I'm going to need to release 2 more of those white clips in the same way I did for the keyboard, pushing them up. And as I do that, this little cable here comes away. That's that one released. And I also have a little JST style connector over here. I can show you that on camera here. So we've got a white wire to the left and a red one in the middle and a black one on the other end, and I'm just going to gently try and prise this connector off as well without causing any damage. Being a little bit more awkward, I have to say. There we go. Okay, so that's come away now. So will this lift away? Indeed it will. Okay, so that's your top away. And that has exposed the motherboard and the fan in this assembly. And there is a little bit of dust underneath here. So I'm going to go ahead with an airline and just give that a quick blow around just to make sure we can get that all clean before we start to put it back together. And get all this dust out. And this will be as good as new. Of course, if we needed to replace the screen and take the screen off, we would need to undo the hinges over here, and we'd need to remove all of the cabling which is connecting it as well, which appears to be coming in through the hinge ports on each side. But we're not going to go ahead and do any of that. We're just going to give this motherboard a bit of a clean, and then we'll start the rebuilding process. So I'll get that blown off because I have to take this outside to where the compressor is so I can give it a bit of a blow around. If you don't have a compressor to be able to blow air across this to get it out, you could try a toothbrush, a very fine toothbrush, or paintbrush, an artist paintbrush, and just give it a little bit of an agitation with the brush, and have a hoover, vacuum cleaner that is, a small one, just to try and lift it out. That would work as well. If you do want to replace the fan or take the fan off for any reason, there's a couple of screws. There's one here and there's one on the other side down here, and a small JST style connector here. You undo that, and then this fan would come off to be cleaned as well. So I'll go ahead and get that all done off camera, and then we'll come back for the rebuild. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this big clump here of dust. I have vacuumed this, and I've blown it off outside as well, but this big chunk of dust, one big chunk here, came out from underneath the fan. So it didn't look like there was any real problem with dust in there, but it was clearly in there. Giving it a quick blow over in case we've picked anything up on the way over from the garage. So I did in actual fact remove this screw here and one here just to remove the fan here. But now that's all done, we can go ahead and look at rebuilding the unit. Bring you back out a little bit. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is put this back on, which is our base. I'm not really giving this a clean because it doesn't need it. Everything's okay. But if we remember, we had a ribbon cable here and a JST connector there to put back on. And just trying to identify where they go. I think the ribbon cable goes in here and the JST connector goes on there. So I think we're good to put this back on now. I've never done anything like this before, don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not going to push anything in too tightly. See if we can get this JST style connector to go back in. Flat bladed screwdriver to help guide it into position. Careful not to break any of the pins. Nice satisfying click as that went in there, so I know that's gone in well. This next wire, which is the ribbon cable, it goes in there. Now, I'm not too sure whereabouts the entry point is on this. Is it underneath or is it through the top? I'm used to these type of ribbon cables. Be a little bit careful. Trying to put the screwdriver underneath to give me some support to help. There we go. So again, I'm just going to show you, bring you in a little bit further, and so you can see what I'm trying to do there. That JST star connector is on, but this ribbon cable here, what I've had to do is I put this flat bladed screwdriver here, just underneath, with my finger on top, and just slid it in, and it goes just underneath the black piece there. I'll make sure that's all the way in, inserted. These white clips fully out. I think that is actually all the way in there. When it's all the way in, I think we just push those clips in. It grips that ribbon cable. It should do. So that's clearly not in because it's come straight back out again. So I'm just going to open up that. I wonder if it goes underneath. Can't go underneath, it's got to go in there, but it must have to go further in from what I'm putting it. Somehow, the problem I'm getting is this ribbon cable doesn't appear to be going in far enough, even though I've fully pulled out the white clips each side. Ah, there we go. Maybe the clips weren't fully out. So the ribbon cable's gone all the way in this time, and there's no visible sign of the connections on the end here. So I'm just going to gently push a little bit on each side here until that, I can feel it biting down now onto the ribbon cable. So that, I think, has now, yeah, that's got a nice firm grip on that now. The JST connector's in. So pull you back out from there, so you get a wider picture of what's going on. So I think at this point we can try and actually just clip back down the outer case. I'll start by just gently pressing around the outer edges. It does appear to have gone back down. And if we remember, there were, I think, three screws. One of them goes in here. Use the magnetic screwdriver to hold it. Put that back in there. Taking care when doing this to not be too heavy-handed. We're not trying to screw down part of the planet so nothing takes off into space. We're just trying to nip these down. This is very soft plastic and it would take very little for this to break. So another screw into this one here, and our third screw, if I remember rightly, that one went in here. So we've got 1, 2, 3 screws, and again, that is what was stopping me from lifting this top off when I'd cracked it all the way around the edge there with my flat bladed screwdriver. I said I feel there was something in the middle, and it was those 3 screws. To get to those 3 screws, we had to undo the, I think it was 3 across the top here. 1, maybe 4, maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 screws, which held on underneath that strip which held the keyboard on. Okay, now at this stage I'm going to tip it, I'm going to close this back down, I'm going to tip the computer back round, because we do still need to sort the keyboard out, but we can start reassembling underneath here as well. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is take the hard disk here and try and get that to go back into its slot. Just up here we have a problem. This hard disk has a screw here. It's never been out as far as I know from when it was manufactured. I've just seen this. We can see this outer foil has a screw here, one here, and here, and this one and that one are in properly. That one's in properly, but this one, you can see that it's been put in at a real funny angle and it's not in properly at all. It's been forced in, I can tell you that much. So I've just sort that out. So I've just corrected the mistake that the factory made there, and just that's gone back in there quite nicely. It was just in cross-threaded. I was able to find the correct thread. Check these are all tight. And this came from Toshiba, I'm guessing in the early 2000s, this Satellite laptop. So yeah, don't think there'll be warranty in it, do you? So let's see now if this will go back in, and that might explain why I was struggling to get this out earlier, because that screw was actually causing the problem. So I've placed that in and I've lined up here the connector. Just going to see if I can gently push that back in, because it should line up and push in. And if it doesn't, oh it does, there we go. So let's just push the little hard drive back into there, and we can see that that there needs to be lined up for the screw that goes in on the cover that holds that on. So that's your hard drive back in. The next thing I think I'm going to do is get the RAM here. We're going to place this back into the slot, the expansion slot here. I'll figure this one out. I know when we took it out, we had to just prise these clips out slightly here. So we may need to do that again to get it to go in. Let's just have a look. Do we push it in that way? Push it in. Okay, so what I've done here, I've just pushed it in at a very slight angle to start it off into this black sort of receiver for the circuit board. I'm just going to put some gentle pressure on here and see if I can then push that into the slot. Yeah, that's gone in nicely. So as I pushed it forward and pushed it down, these metal clips just gripped it, and that seems to have gone in there now properly. Okay, so I'm happy now that that RAM is in. I did think that the copper bits that you can see here may go all the way in to here, and I could rewind my own video and check to see how they were before, but it didn't want to push in any more than that, and I'm not going to force it at this stage. If that isn't in correctly, it's not going to cause a problem. When this is all back together and we turn it on, it will come up with a fault on the monitor and the display, and I'll know for a fact that this isn't quite in right, and it will just be a case of undoing that one screw which holds that cover plate in to get access to this, to sort it out. So for now, I'm happy that that's in as it should be, and the next thing we're going to do is put those two spring-loaded screws back in here, which is the heat sink. It's almost like a vapor chamber, like they have on the new iPhones. This, or it appears to be to me anyway. You've got something metal, which would be the heat sink in itself, and you've got this copper centerpiece here, and then you've got the fan, which is over here, which is actually blowing directly onto this to cool this down specifically. So I'm guessing this is sitting over the processor inside. Didn't really pay much attention to it, and this will be cooling down the main processor, taking the heat away. That's the theory that I've got anyway, looking at it. And again, not over tightening these as I put them in, just giving them a little nip, not trying to force them in and break anything. So that's on. I guess the next thing I could do is put this cover on. Well, that isn't the next thing that I actually took out, so I'm trying to go in the same order I took stuff apart. So I'm thinking now that this is going to go back in. Now it's got a screw thread here, which is going to be for this. So it's not going to go in that way, it's going to be going in that way, I'm fairly sure of that. And we can see the connector there. Now if I want to check that I'm putting this in the right way, I can have a look down here, and although you won't probably see it on the camera, I can see that the part that drive actually connects to here is on that side. So I know that I'm putting this in the correct way. Just gently slide that back in, not forcing it at all. And I can see down here the screw is now lined up, so I'm going to take one of the screws, place that in there. I'm going to gently tighten that back up. There we go. Again, not over tightening it. And now that CD drive's held in nice and tight, so we know that's in good. I think the next one I am going to put in then will be the cover. And this is the cover here. Now I know I did undo all of these other screws, and then I took this cover off, and I'm going to try and put it back in the order it came out. However, I'm going to put it in now. So we've got some tabs here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which are going to slide into these areas here. And we've got some more tabs here, 1, 2, another one there, which are going to slide in across here and here. And then we have the screw here, which is going to go through where the hard drive is here, and into through this metal cover and into the screw thread underneath there. So I'm going to gently place this back in where it needs to go. A little push so those clips line up and go in. I'm going to take my crosshead screwdriver, and again nice and gently just nipping that up, and that secures both the hard drive in position and this case in position as well. So I can now go ahead and replace all of these screws around the outer edge. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and you don't need to sit with me while I do that, but if you want to, feel free. Alternatively, of course, you could go and make yourself a coffee. I'd like a coffee myself. I'm going to crack on and get this done. So that's one. I'll just work my way around the 20 or so screws there are in here. These are all the same, so it doesn't matter. You can take from the bunch that you removed, as long as you kept them all together. You'll be putting the right screws back in. And of course, when you've completed this, if you find you've got any screws left over, just have a quick scan around the edge and you'll find the one that you've missed, or two if there's more than one that you've missed. So yeah, this really wasn't much of a job at all, really, was it? It wasn't painful, wasn't difficult. Just took my time, worked my way around what I was doing. I was methodical about it. There was no hard losing your temper and just ripping it up and pulling it up. If something didn't just come away, we took our time and we figured out what we needed to do. And the biggest issue we had was the fact the keyboard was held down from the front, which is interesting when you think that the main reason for taking this apart was the keyboard, and actually we didn't need to strip all this out at all to get the keyboard off to do the repair. So I've learned something there for the future, because I'm quite sure that most laptops would be of a similar construction, certainly from this era anyway. I doubt they've changed that going forward with more modern systems as well. Every day is a school day, as they say. So how am I doing, guys? What do you think? Leave me a comment, let me know. Did I go about this the right way by taking this apart to start with? Should I have done my research beforehand and gone online, maybe found somebody else's video of how they've done it? Should I have took it to a computer shop and just paid someone to do it? What do you think? What would you have done? Or what have you done in the past? Always curious to know what people's opinions are. And you remember it when I started putting this together, I said go round it all, and if you've got any screws left, You'll be able to just have a quick zip round and see where you've missed. Well, guess what? I've gone round it all and I've got one screw left. So let's have a look. Which one have I missed? There's none in there. I've done that one, 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 and that one. That's got one in, that's got one in. There's one there, one here. Ah, there. That's the one I've missed. Now, interestingly, that one doesn't want to go in. Oh no, because it actually has a screw in there. So that isn't one I've missed. I thought it was one I'd missed, but it's not. So how have I ended up with an extra screw left over? What have I missed? That is a really, really good question. On the outside, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. They're all in. All of those screws are in and I have a screw left. Now the only thing I can think of is that underneath here, this panel, I've missed a screw. So I'm going to take this panel off and have a look, because I must have missed a screw. Can't see where else it is. It's not under here. And we've just double checked around the outer edge. So let's take that screw out, which of course is the hard drive screw. Gently prise this back up again so we don't break it, like we did before, nice and gently. That's off. So, there we go guys. There's the missing screw, one here. So again, just using a methodical method to pick out and understand and realise where my mistake was. And that's the thing when tackling any job like this, you know, in my experience anyway, which is vast in taking things apart and not having a clue what I'm doing, but it's limited very much in this kind of thing, is if you do take your time, even if you don't know what you're doing, if you take your time and you work through things methodically and carefully, you can tackle most jobs with some very simple tools. I've used a flat bladed screwdriver so far and a crosshead or Phillips style screwdriver, and that's it. And so far I've been able to strip this down to service it. I've been able to figure out what's going on. Now I'm going to hold off putting this back in because that's the battery. We don't want to put power to it yet. But I've been able to work my way around this laptop quite easily to get it back working again. Alright, so this piece here needs pushing in. There we go, that piece is in. Just checking around the edges. So check the operation of those buttons. I'm sure that'll be working fine. So the next job is for me to go, and for now I'm not going to try and strip this down and service it. I may have a look at that another time on another video. What I am going to do though is go and take a keyboard from a separate Toshiba Satellite. And here is the second keyboard, which we've had and kept as a spare. So we know what we've got to do is go underneath here and lift up this trim. I've got to start it off without breaking it. There we go. And like we said before, we're just going to work our way across here. Now we can do this with a little bit more confidence this time. Not being aggressive still. A little bit more confidence because we know what we're doing. We know we've had this apart already. So that was a much quicker task. And we can undo the 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. There's one. So if you were doing a keyboard replacement on this laptop, this is literally all you'd have to do. I wonder how much a shop would actually charge you to fit the keyboard. It's one thing to buy it, I wonder how much they charge you in a service cost. So anything like cars would probably charge you a fortune. They'd tell you need to leave it with them for a day or two. Anyway, there we go. That's the keyboard lifted up. And then we need to push the 2 tabs forward, the white tabs, to release the ribbon cable. And then the ribbon cable just pulls straight out. And there is our replacement keyboard. So I'm going to put that to one side, and for now, just for practice, I'm going to use the old keyboard, see how it goes back together, because if this one is damaged while I try and put it back together, nothing's going to be lost, is it? Because it doesn't really matter. So it really is quite awkward, I have to say. Maybe you do take it to a shop and you let them fit the keyboard. Maybe this is what they'd be charging you all the money for. Faffing about with this ribbon cable, trying to get it in. It seems to go in okay, but when you tighten it up and let go and look, I don't know. Well, it's in. So when we put this keyboard in, we can see also, look, there's some tabs. So they have to be fed down and into their little seats. They've got holes across the front here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 holes. We just have to sort of get those to go into them before we lay the keyboard flat. And that's what holds the keyboard down across the bottom there. So with that done, wrong screwdriver, we can, using our magnetic screwdriver again, go along and replace the screws which hold the keyboard down. Come on. Thank you. Of course, this keyboard is the one which we have the problem with, but it's going into the laptop which has no data on it at all. It's just a spare laptop, unused. So we can come back to this keyboard at a later date, as I say, and maybe take it apart and see if we can figure out what's going on with it. Or I may just have a quick look online and see if I can get a replacement keyboard for this at a reasonable price. And that is that one back together. This seems to have a clip at one end that goes under. So that I'm going to feed in first at that end, and then just gently press that, I think, back down and hope it just pushes in. Seems to be doing just that. And this one here just seems to be being a little bit awkward. There we go. So the key seems to be to put it in at the ends, and then if I show you with this one, you put the ends of the little tabs in, and then you put it in that way and then push it down. I was trying to push it in flat, and that's not the way. It would appear the best way to do it is to put the ends in and then have it up at this angle and then rotate it flat. So I'll have a go at that on the next computer. So let's put this one out of the way, because that's our spare. Let's go back to the computer we want to work with. And this is our good keyboard, so we need to take good care with this one. Again, I'm just going to try and lift up these white tabs. Just bring you in so you can have a closer look. There we go. All right, so you'll see now what I've got to try and do using this flat blade screwdriver is push these white tabs all the way up. And then this ribbon cable here has to go in this connector. It's not as easy as what you think to feed it in, because the moment you try and feed this ribbon in, the white tabs close stop you feeding the cable in. Ooh, there we go. I think that actually just slotted in there nicely. Push the white tabs down. They're fully locked. And that does appear that it's got the ribbon cable in. So, gentle, yeah, appears to be in. Last check underneath, all's well. So with that ribbon cable in, I'm just going to pull you out again a bit. So what we've got to do now, like I said before, this keyboard has these tabs. I'm just going to place those in as we then bring the keyboard down. All right, and then if I zoom in a little bit, bring you in there, you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that need to go back in there. So let's go ahead and get those in. Just one. Okay, so that's our keyboard now fixed back down, and we're going to get this now. I'll show you here. You can see there's this little bit here on the other end. You don't quite have the same. Okay, so that's one end. Go to focus, one end, and then the other end's got this tab. So this tab goes over on the right hand side over here, and it feeds under there. And then this other tab goes in at the other end, and we'll just place that in at an angle, and hopefully that will slot in nicely for us. And there we go. That's your keyboard all back together. All that remains to do now is place the battery back in, which is a very simple job. Just slide the battery in, like so. We can now apply power to the laptop, and the first thing to check is that the power button still works. So press the power button. Let's see if we get a screen. Bring it down. Let's bring this back up. Okay, so I press the power button, and if you can see there, we've got some LEDs on, so we know we've got power going in. We know the power button worked, but nothing's working. So what could that be? Well, I suspect we know exactly what that is. It's going to be that RAM underneath, because it cannot work without that RAM. So I'm going to pull the cable out here. We can see that we still have power, so I'm going to need to take the battery out to remove power. So that's these two clips. The battery's gone. And now what I need to do is to take this off. And I did suspect that that RAM wasn't in properly, if you remember before. Oh, and I've just undone the wrong screw. That's the CD drive. Put that one back in. There's this screw which holds the hard disk in. With that one undone fully, we can lift up and remove the cover, and we need to address this because I don't think this is in properly. Now before I go ahead and do anything with that, I'm going to have a quick check on the other laptop which we've not touched, how it's sitting on that one, just so we can be 100% sure of what we're trying to achieve. Okay, so we can see here on this one, as I said, there's no copper strip showing. We can see exactly how that RAM is fitted. However, on this one, which we've taken apart, we can see that's clearly not in correctly. So let's see if we can make that sit properly. Hopefully you can see what's going on. See that needs to be up there into that one there. So that needs to be pushed in a lot more than that. Okay. All right, so now we can see that these clips are now in the correct part here, and most of that is covered, the copper strip, you can't really see it. And that is just how it is on the one that we've not touched. The clips in there, and a little bit of copper strip showing. So I will rebuild this one, which is the laptop of spares. Always good to have one to look at. Put that in. Place that one out of the way. Take our laptop that we've rebuilt and put the cover back on here. Screw back down. Take our battery, slide it in. We can apply power. And let's try that again, shall we? Let's press the on button, see what happens. And that is a working laptop. The question is, do all the buttons work? We'll find out in a moment. First thing to do is see if the mouse is working. We can see there that the cursor is moving nicely. So I'm going to type. Keyboard seems to be working well. And the buttons here are working well. So for me, guys, I would say that is a resounding success. One working laptop. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, useful or entertaining, please consider giving it a thumbs up, this video. If you enjoy this kind of content, as well as the Knight Rider content, of course, on the channel, please do hit the bell icon so that you're reminded every time that we upload a new video. And most importantly, I can't stress enough, it really helps our channel grow. It's completely free. Please hit the subscribe button. It makes the world of difference to me and the channel. And it also helps if you can leave me a comment, any comment, because that helps get this video out to other people and all the other videos as well. So thank you so much for watching this video. I've been Steve. This has been a repair on a Toshiba laptop from the early 2000s. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.